Hey, I'm Shaun Ruhlands, and you're listening to the Pixel Pie Podcast.
And hello, my name is Scott. You're listening to the Pixel Pie podcast. Welcome back. If you're a return listener, if this is your first time, then sit down, enjoy. I think you're going to meet someone tonight, someone who is into retro gaming. Someone's into Game Boys. Someone's into all sorts of consoles. It should be a bunch of fun. Before we do meet this person, I'm going to tell you about my sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au. It's the URL and it's the Instagram tag, so you can look Craig up. Craig's been pretty happy to take my money, hooking me up with all sorts of goodness. I know last episode I talked about this beautiful pocket with the OSD IPS in it. Been tweaking the palette, and it's just so legit and so awesome, so sexy. So thank you, Craig, for that. He can do the same for you, all sorts of consoles. You can get all sorts of other stuff off the retrogamestore.com.au, controllers, video cables, some power supplies, and pretty much anything you need for Game Boys, whether you're doing a refurb or you just want to bring something old back into playable condition. All right. Check him out. Oh, and I will say there's a code, PixelPie. Stick that in at the end of your order at the checkout and you'll get 10% off. So go get some. All right, let's get on with it. So I have with me this episode, Shaun Ruhlands. Shaun, is that how I say it, Shaun? Ruhlands?
Ruhlands, yeah, it's a bit
Ruhlands,
weird.
Ruhlands. So Shaun is actually an Aussie. And Shaun is currently living in Germany, specifically at this current point, Stuttgart, kind of like a American werewolf in London, but not as much eating of people, which is probably good when you're a foreigner. So Shaun, from Aussie to Aussie, how the bloody hell are you, mate?
Oh, mate, I'm pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the weather like?
It's a bit crappy. Well, it was snowing yesterday, and it's like almost the end of March.
Stupid smarch
But
weather.
yeah, so that's beautiful spring in Germany, but it is getting warmer slowly. So we've had a few nice days, and yeah.
Won't be long and all those wildflowers will be out and you can go chase the cows with the bells on their necks and, and sing, go yodeling and stuff.
Oh, that's the plan. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Well, I'm here in Brisbane, where you're from, and it's been raining for about 4 days, and it's muggy as heck. Like in my little $35 studio, I've had the aircon on for the last hour to kind of cool the place down a bit. So, yeah, I
Oh
mean that'd be
man.
good. It's good for drinking here. So
Yeah.
yeah. So just life in general, Stuttgart. Maybe fill us in a little bit on sort of why you're there and how's it going, and how as a Aussie retro gamer is life going for you?
Right. So I'm here because I fell in love with a German girl, basically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Which couldn't have happened at a better time during COVID and having to get an exemption to leave the country and then moving to a country that's in lockdown kind of perpetually since I've been here.
Yeah, right.
But it's not too bad. It's just been here for a bit over 6 months now,
Okay.
almost 7.
Okay.
And yeah, I've got a job at a cafe, an Australian coffee bar, and I'm doing dog walking and
Oh, wicked. Wicked. Lots of German shepherds, or am I being super, super stereotyping?
actually I think
Lots of
I've
poodles.
seen more Australian shepherds like mentioned on the page that I'm part of for the dog walking than German shepherds. So
It's funny when
uh,
you're watching TV and you see like somewhere in Alaska, they've got like a Kelpie or a blue heeler, and you're like, oh, geez, that's so funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
quite an Aussie kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah. So retro gaming here in Australia is a pretty big deal for you. I met you through retro gaming,
Totally.
through the Netherworld bar, and I guess you call it one of these sort of barcades, but it's more than a barcade. I wouldn't ever tag it like that here in Brisbane. How has it been for you in Germany? Like, lockdowns obviously made it challenging. Did you manage to get anything poke around before you sort of went into serious lockdown?
Yeah, so there was like a kind of like a month or two when I got here that they were like the cases were a bit lower and the lockdown wasn't as serious. There was still rules with wearing masks and stuff, but you could go anywhere still.
Yeah.
And I went to a couple of like retro game shops and had a look. That was fun.
Mm.
Got a couple of Game Boy games like DuckTales
Oh,
on
wicked.
the Game Boy.
How do you find the
That was
prices?
pretty standard. That was like 10 euros, I think, which is about 15 Australian dollars. So not too
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, sure.
Um, and the best one was when I went to Italy for my birthday, which is kind of cool. You can just ducking off to Italy.
Yeah, yeah. That was by train or something, was it?
We drove.
Oh,
So yeah, drove through Switzerland to get there. It was pretty beautiful.
mm,
And as in Italy, there's this amazing shop called Power. I think it's Power Games.
right.
If you Google Power Games Italy, you'll see it on their website. The shop in person is just amazing. Heaps of like modded like CRTs and PVMs with like modded RGB consoles,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was just awesome. And I got to speak with the owner a bit, and yeah, that was really great. He gave me some pretty good deals. So
Did you take much over with you, knowing that your access to retro gaming over there might be a bit limited?
I did, yeah. It's kind of funny. My girlfriend Michelle was like, "Aren't you bought this many consoles, but only one pair of shoes?"
Oh, how
It
many
doesn't sound
consoles?
exactly like that, but
Oh,
I I brought my DMG, I brought my Vita, my Switch, my PS4, and my 3DS XL.
oh, that's not too. I mean, the PS4 is a big box, but the rest of them you can fit in one shoebox. So,
Exactly. So I thought,
uh,
why not? I
yeah,
brought,
and
you know,
shoes are just shoes. You're not allowed to go outside anyway. What's the difference? That's all.
yeah, exactly. Who needs more than one pair? I've got
Oh,
more pairs now. I've got a few here, but
oh, that's
yeah.
cool. That's cool. Um, what do you find yourself playing these days? You sort of mix it up with some newer and older stuff,
Yeah, I've been playing kind of the main game I'm playing is Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch,
right?
which is awesome.
I don't know.
I
I don't
finished
own a Switch yet. It's probably when it's 15 years old. I'll pick one up.
yeah, get it for cheap
Yeah,
in a
that's right.
while.
Or maybe who knows? Yeah,
Or maybe the originals will be cheap because there's a Super Switch possibly on the way soon.
the
So
whole OLED thing and stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been playing that, and I always play Tetris, like
Mm,
on the classic NES Tetris, just on an emulator on my
right.
laptop.
You're pretty big on Tetris, right? We might touch on that a bit in the classic Tetris World Championship, and it's an online competition that you participated in.
Yeah, I definitely I participate in the classic Tetris PAL, which is kind of a monthly tournament, but the World
Right.
Championship I didn't enter basically because you had to pay to enter that, and I knew that the people I go up against, I didn't really have a chance, but maybe
Right.
next year I'll do it, or this year.
Yeah. How do you go in that? What is it? The classic Tetris PAL, is it?
Yeah, yeah. So CTP is kind of the abbreviation
Right. And how does that
for it,
work?
or
Because I wondered how they make this all like how they make it legit. Like obviously if you're sitting there in front of a
Hmm.
competition supplied TV and NES, like we've seen all the up until the last couple of years, they still in LA and that. But how do they
Yeah.
kind of keep it all legit and square when everybody's somewhere else in their own room? I mean, I'm not really saying just cheating, but you must be
Oh,
tough.
totally. Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to show you're supposed to show yourself playing. They're not too strict with the classic Tetris PAL one because it's not like I guess it's a standalone kind of tournament where it's a bit more honesty based to
Yeah.
make it more accessible.
Yeah.
You can play on an emulator. If with the World Championships though, you had to play on original hardware. You had to show your hands, um, as well as yourself, what like on the video
And the
feed while you're
screen.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
And,
was a lot more
yeah.
like legit.
And then someone could actually replay the video and count how many times you're hyper tapped and all that kind of,
Yeah, basically,
in
if they wanted.
theory. Yeah.
Yeah, people know the game so well that they'll know if something's up. Basically,
I had a
so,
buddy over the other day. Shout out to Tristan, and we watched. We're just talking Game Boy shit and stuff, and we watched. Is a Ecstasy of Order again.
oh
Like I've
yeah,
watched it a
man.
few times, and you just walk away just thinking, man, there's just some people in the world. They've just got superpowers. There's that kid that's in the middle with the longer hair, and he's doing the whole like making steps and patterns and stuff. And
Oh yeah,
it's like, oh man, that's you got to do something with your life. Hey, really, you really do. You're so talented.
that yeah, and that's what he did with his life. He did
Yeah, that's
Tetris
right.
art.
Yeah. Well, the World Championship this year was the two finalists were like two brothers in like, was it
Mm.
Singapore or the Philippines or something?
They're in the States. One of the guys was from Singapore who was like in the top eight. I think he was like getting close to. He almost won. Basically, he came fourth or something.
Right.
I think his name's Nanu.
Right.
But yeah, the two brothers were in the States somewhere and playing the World Championships against each other in the same house from
Yeah,
different
like two
rooms.
rooms. And I was talking to something like,
The
oh, what if
grand
you
final.
run next door and just like pull his cable out of his hand or something and then run back again? It's
Yeah,
happening so fast. Yeah. I mean, and that's the beauty of, I guess, online tournaments is that it opens it up to people that
totally.
could never afford to fly to Portland or LA or London or wherever they decide to hold it. So that's just such a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, like a legitimate world championship where
Yeah.
everyone can enter.
Yeah. And it seems like one of those communities where you just can't fudge it. You can either do it or you can't. There's
Mhm.
no sleight of
Yeah,
hand. There's no way of convincing people otherwise. You either top
exactly.
out or you don't. It's that easy sort of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Let's. I would like to talk a little bit about Game Boys because that's kind of my primary love here, and this podcast is very much about Game Boys. Can you take me back to where the Game Boy started for you, and then so
Yeah.
work through that and take us up to? I guess I'll let you go on a bit about where you are now and collecting and playing, and just what makes you have them in your life.
Right. Okay. So I actually saw the video of me and my family ever laying eyes on our first Game Boys because we have like old family videos from Christmas.
Yeah.
And we always had some sort of game console as far as I can remember. We had like the Sega Master System and then we had the Super Nintendo. And I'm not sure if the Game Boys came at the same year as the Super Nintendo or before, but there's a video and it was like one of those family presents. So we all get to open it together.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if it was me that said it, but someone in the family just like, "Oh, Game Boy, excellent!" And it was so cool to see that because now that I'm like a super into retro games, probably even more so into games than when I was a kid,
Yeah.
to see that excitement like on all of our faces and like
Yes.
just opening up and finding these two Game Boys it was because there was five kids in my family. So my parents were like, well, I'm not having five kids fight over one Game Boy.
Yeah.
I'm going to get two.
Yeah.
And it came with Tetris and Hook and Bubble Ghost and yeah, just awesome. And I still have like that copy of Tetris and Bubble Ghost and those
Oh,
two
that's rad.
DMGs.
So the
So
two DMGs, you still got them both.
yeah, do this one I can show you is one of the originals, but it's been modded with a different shell and a backlight.
Okay, so you did like
Um,
the backlight bivert.
not Bivert yet. I have that part. I think you actually might have that part
I
because
might actually
that
have
order
that.
we did.
Yeah, that's right. Like ages ago, just before you started to piss off to Germany, chase that chick.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly. That
Yeah.
was all kind of That's a story for another day. Like just quickly, oh shit, I got the exemption, got to leave the country. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. Cool, cool. And the
But yeah,
the other one, that have you still got the other one?
that's at home. I took the speaker, or I took like the front board, I guess, with the speaker on it out of that because the speaker on this one wasn't working, and that was the one that was modded.
Yeah.
I can't even remember how it all works now, the inside of the Game Boy. But yeah, put basically spliced two Game Boys together to make one fully functional one, and now the other one still works, but it's not like the best shape with like
Mm.
some lines missing on the screen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I might just need like a like
Yeah.
the
If they're vertical, you can usually sort them out. The horizontal ones are a little. I picked up one recently with horizontal. That's a bit like, yeah, but I can get some boards. It's fine. Yeah, coolio.
okay.
And so then moving on, like, was Game Boy kind of your what you did the most, or was there other sort of console stuff that really kind of grabbed you?
Game Boy took a lot of my time as a kid with Pokemon and
Mm,
Tetris. Well,
mm,
first for the first few years, it was just like before Pokemon came out, it was just Tetris and Super Mario Land and Bubble Ghost,
mm,
and I
mm,
wasn't very good at those games though
mm,
back then.
mm.
But that's took a lot of my time, and played a lot of the Super Nintendo with like Super Mario All Stars and
Yeah,
um, but that was I basically like played games when I was a kid, but I think I was more of an outdoors kid still
yeah.
at that time.
How was sort of
Um,
retro game? Well, it's not retro gaming at the time, but in Australia at that time, like, how do you think like, do you remember going to Toys R Us and just seeing, because I want to look at all these old, videos on YouTube of like someone going through a Toys R Us in, 89. It's just walls and walls and walls of it. And you don't see that now. You're like, the consoles are for the retail chains and stuff like that, like the Harvey Normans
right.
for us. Do you remember kind of going around Australia and Nintendo crazy and all that sort of stuff, or what?
It's funny. I don't actually. I've never thought about that, but no, I don't really have like strong memories
Mm,
of that. I do have a strong memory of going to Toys R Us to get Pokemon Yellow for one of my birthdays.
yeah.
Like I went there, bought it with my mum, and then I didn't get to have it until like a month later on my birthday,
Oh,
which was torture.
yeah, that is
Um,
harsh.
yeah, but I do remember like I always thought at least Toys R Us was amazing with everything like the way it was lined up. But I
Mm,
don't have like a big memory of like Nintendo being
mm,
everywhere and
yeah.
everything when I was a kid.
I always wonder about that. Like what it was, because I grew up, geez, I mean, up until sort of, I guess, primary schoolish, mid to late primary school, I grew up with like in a bit of a commune with no electricity, let alone Game Boys. Like, the space shuttle was the freaking future for me whenever we get
Yeah,
into town. Like, so I always wonder what it was really like back then. But yeah, that's pretty amazing though, that you had that little poor Pikachu just sitting up there for a month in his little
yeah,
cartridge, just like gagging to get out, and you're like, Mom, come on.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
but no,
it was
no.
worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you would you call yourself a collector these days?
Yeah, for sure. Not like a crazy collector, and I've been thinking about focusing on like my favorite console, which is basically anything Game Boy and Super Nintendo.
Mm,
Because the Super Nintendo was sort of the big first console that I got, and I just love it. Whenever I look at a cartridge or a console, it brings me joy.
it is a weird
Just
feeling, isn't it?
it is,
Yeah,
yeah, just
it's
something about it. Like even just like having some cartridges and the noise that they make when you shuffle through them. Same with Game
mm,
Boy.
mm,
It's just so cool, man. I
mm.
don't know.
I love that.
So
I love that feeling of getting something that someone has had and not really knowing its history, but I'm just going to assume it's really positive. When you get a Game Boy cartridge and you're like, I don't know, did this be their downtime during uni in the 90s? And now that chick's a doctor, you know,
yeah,
just,
totally.
just random stuff. Like, it just makes it, I think the nostalgia I don't have for them, because we can grow up with them, still makes, by having them, still makes me reflect on my own life, if that makes
Right.
sense. Because I'll pick it up and then I'll have that thought and go, I wonder if the chick that got this for the trip to Hong Kong is now a doctor or, it just blows. And
Yeah, yeah.
I think think about what I could have been if I had have got my shit together and put more effort in at school. And and here
I
I
think
am.
you're doing all right.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, sorry, I just sort of cut you off there, but I understand the nostalgia of just flicking through them and just enjoying them. But you've got legit
Yeah, and
memories.
having displays and stuff, I really enjoy like having stuff nicely organized on a shelf and switching it around. And yeah, one day when we're me and Michelle are like settled somewhere and have our own place, I'm gonna have an epic games room.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Um, we like we alluded to before. I think actually, I'm not sure if people are familiar with. Because I might talk a little bit about arcade because I think that's probably another thing that you and I have we're pretty fond of. You and I both met. I met you through Netherworld, which is a bar in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane, Australia. For those that aren't aware, Netherworld is one of these bars. I was talking to you before about I'm an older bloke, and my days of drinking and kind of standing up for my woman at the bar because someone spilt my beer are long gone. But I feel like every time I walk into a bar these days, there's always this weird. There's a sports game on. There's this weird tension, but Netherworld is not like that. It's a bar, and then it is at least 3/5 arcade machines and pinballs, and
Yeah.
there's a passion there. It's not one of these barcades that's popped up to say, "Hey, think all the youngins are into this shit. Let's lease out a bunch of these machines and sell more beer." It's I think it's one of those places that is an arcade that sells alcohol. It's the way it feels much more to me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you maybe give because you've obviously been involved a lot longer in Netherworld than I have. Can you give me and the listeners a bit of an insight about this place and the spirit that it really, because it's still retro gaming and it's still about enjoying things that have been before. They can still be enjoyed today.
Yeah, okay. I just remember going to that place for the first time on my birthday. I think it might have been my 29th birthday. But I walked in there and I was just like, holy shit. Because I had watched documentaries and stuff like
Mm,
King of Kong and
mm,
Chasing Ghosts, I think is another one.
yeah,
And just seen all these machines and everything, but never actually seen it in person
yeah,
because there just wasn't anywhere that really had them at the time.
yeah.
And then I went here and just had Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, all these pennies,
Mm,
and you could get a high score up on the board. You could
mm,
win a
mm,
pin if you get a certain score, and I was just
yeah.
like, "This is heaven."
Mm,
And I remember like I had leftover coins, and this was my birthday, so it was everyone else like towards like as the night went on, they wanted to go to a club or other places, and I was just like, "What? Why would you want to go anywhere else?
yeah, that's
I'm
right.
gonna
Yeah,
stay here and play ice cold beer." And
yeah, that's right.
I didn't want to leave, man. But and then the next day I had spare coins, it's like tokens left over. So I was hungover and I just got back on the train and went back to the valley and kept playing, man. It was
Oh,
awesome.
sick, sick. I think when you and I actually met would have been so Netherworld holds a yearly competition called the Ultimate Denizen, which
Yes.
is yeah, I guess it could be simply described as a retro gaming Olympics. So there's
Yeah.
usually like I think like 14 to 17 games around about that number. And it's going to be like pinballs, arcade. The year I was there, the first year, 2019, there was a Beat Saber, PS4 Beat Saber.
Yeah.
I bought a PlayStation 4 and VR because of that particular day.
Yeah.
There was like an Xbox game. There's always like was it this year they had Paperboy on the Master System. So it really mixes it up, and you basically just
Totally.
do the bloody best you can and add up your points by the end of the day, and you get your portrait painted and up on the
Yeah.
wall. And
Yes.
it's a pretty hectic kind of achievement, isn't it? And you, sir,
Sure.
have your portrait up on the wall.
Yes, I do. And that's like probably the coolest thing I've done with my life, to be honest.
No one could take that away from you.
Yeah, I'm super honored and blessed to be up there. It was like because I love that place so much, and then to get
Mm,
a massive like hand painted portrait on the wall,
yeah.
it was just awesome. And then I'm up there next to my mate Johnny Bond.
Johnny
He was the
Bond.
first denizen. Shout
Yep.
out Johnny.
Shout out to Johnny. Yeah.
Just yeah, now with a couple of other blokes that are great, especially Gary. He's a good mate. He won the most recent one.
Local favorite for sure, Gary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Killer on point blank. That fella.
Oh, and he had one of the games this year was some Switch drum game, which I don't know. I can barely hit a barn with a bucket of wheat, but he's a drummer, so he like made 1 billion points, and it's like right up his alley. Good job, eh?
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes like when I won, the games just happen to be like a bit more in my wheelhouse,
yeah, yeah,
and you don't know what the games are until the day. So there's no training or anything that you can
yeah,
really do.
yeah. I think
Yep.
if you practice one of the first three Tony Hawks, you're guaranteed to do okay in that, because it seems to be there every year.
Yeah, that's kind of the only one that you can bank on.
Yeah,
Even then, who knows? They might just switch it up.
yeah. Well, at the end of this year, Ben's, Jimmy's like, and it'll always be, and Ben's like, won't be next year. And Jimmy's like, yes, it will. Yes, it will. So, so yeah,
Awesome.
it really embodies the spirit of retro gaming, though, doesn't it? Tell me how you
Mm,
feel about the place, because retro gaming does sort of span. It's not just Game Boys. It's not just Mega Drives. It's about that preserving of the technology. And you'd probably know more about the inner workings and why they put X game in, and the staff
mm.
behind maintaining it. So can you share with us some of that?
Yeah, the passion is definitely huge there. Everything, as much as possible, is like original. They still use the CRTs instead of LCDs if they can, and just the maintenance. They have someone working, one or two people working almost full time or full time. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but coming in, early every day to do maintenance on things because pinballs and arcades they always need maintenance and
Mm,
there is usually working quite well. And if it's not, they get onto it because the owners are gamers and pinball players themselves, and
yeah.
they want things to work properly. And the it's such an amazing environment that they've created where everyone feels welcome.
Yeah.
There's kind of signs up throughout the place like if anyone's making you feel uncomfortable, let the staff know,
Yeah.
and we will do something about it. And then they're not trying to just like push out as much booze as they can because I actually worked there for a month, and it's like if you need to cut someone off, you do it like as soon as you think it's necessary, or
Yeah.
give them a warning early on. Like you don't want to just keep pushing beer out because they're not about that. They're about giving people a good experience, making everyone feel welcome, and
Yeah.
just doing everything that they do it right. And it
Yeah.
just shows how successful they are. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah. And big proponents of racial and sexual diversity and these sort of
Yep.
things, that as we get older and we get this income to spend on retro gaming, but we still have these other challenges in our lives. And, to find a place that sort of covers a whole bunch of bases for someone that's, I don't really go out because it's always a bloody hassle. It's really beautiful. You walk through a portal and you go into a place that, just makes your heart sing. So good.
Yeah, different ages, different sexes,
Yeah.
different everyone.
Yeah.
Like I've got so many mates now from Netherworld, and like all different ages and everything. And it's like
Yeah.
you never see all these different people interact with each other. Like at a normal bar, maybe you have your different groups where you stick to that. But in Netherworld, everyone kind of
Yeah.
mingles with each other, especially
Yeah.
if you get into the competing and stuff. You just know everyone, and it's great.
It is great. I know I've been there on one particular, my wife and I will go in, we might go to meet someone for something else. So we'll go to Netherworld early, get a feed and play some games. And you can be standing there and you can have, there might be a couple of really younger guys, like, sort of early 20s. And they're like, what's this game with the frog that jumps? And you're like, oh, how could you be so ignorant? And then you'll see like a sort of 50-year-old, which isn't, around my age anyway. And he'll walk past with his wife and he'll be like, oh, bloody hell, I haven't seen this game in God knows how long. Give me some
Yeah,
coins. So you see
yeah,
both ends of the spectrum, but everybody walks away just how good is it? Like, this is
Oh,
just,
totally.
there's a warmth about CRTs. Often I've been there and I'll just sit there and have a beer and just feel that radiation coming off a line of CRTs and just think this is, that might be the secret. This is nice. I just like being around this technology. It feels
Yeah,
less
man.
intrusive. It feels like it's not poking you in the face,
Simpler time,
simpler
definitely.
time. Yeah. Um, Now you are personally, you're a podcaster yourself. You have the Played Up podcast. Tell us a bit about that,
Yes.
and you got a couple of co-hosts and things you do there.
Yeah, yeah. So Mike and Neil, my co-hosts, they're in Brisbane as well. I'm guessing they're not too far from where you are.
No, Mike's only a few k away, but I think Neil's a little bit further. But yeah, same town, so a lot
Yeah,
closer than you are. That's for shizzle.
that's for sure. Yeah. So I started that like the first 4 or 5 episodes was just me, kind of how you're doing it, getting a guest on each time and
Yep.
interviewing and chatting. And it was actually Neil's idea to begin with, and I was going to do it with him, but he was quite busy at the time. He's
Mm,
got kids and,
mm,
kids work and everything. So
mm, mm,
he kind of literally handed the microphone off to me. He gave me the mic, and that's the same one I'm using right now.
mhm.
And I said, yeah, I'll do it, man. And I've got time. I'll see what I can do. And then it took me a while, but I finally got onto it. And
Mm.
then later on, decided Neil had more time and he was able to do it. I guess with me running it and uploading it and editing and stuff, it's easier for him to just come in.
Yeah.
And Mike came on as well. And yeah, we just like met through Netherworld and we're just crazy about retro games and
Mm.
just talk shit. And yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming up. Like Neil's doing a bit of a series on like Galaga, like a game changer series, talking to people who have kind of been influential in like the Galaga like record breaking scene. And that's something a bit different that's going to be pretty cool. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Neil's got a Twin Galaxies world record, or at least one, probably more multi, but he's the current Wonder Boy Twin Galaxies world champion, isn't he?
he is. Yeah, on the Wonder Boy arcade. He did that
Yeah.
at Netherworld actually, and
Yeah.
that was the first I heard of him. And he's a beast.
Yeah, he is. I think there's a few other Aussies hot on his tail down in Sydney there, but bring it on. But yeah, and his latest endeavor is Ghosts and Goblins. Like, what's wrong with the
Yeah.
dude? Seriously, eh?
Oh yeah, that's a brutal one. That game is like notoriously hard, and he
Mm.
just beat the MAME world record,
Yeah.
but he wanted to do the legit world record on
Yeah.
the like original hardware.
Yeah.
So
I think he's winding up looking for a legit PWB, so he can head over to Netherworld, and that'll be pretty amazing.
oh yeah, that'll be awesome. He'll do it. He's prepared, and yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. You got a couple of Twin Galaxy records, don't you?
Yeah, nothing major. I've got a few like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and 3 records. That was basically just me and Johnny Bond who actually put up scores for it.
That's all right.
So we kind of traded back and forth a little bit, but I need to get back onto that. And Missile Command, actually, me
Oh,
and Neil, one day we just like for the Atari 2600, we recorded us playing some Missile Command, and
yeah, right.
I've got the number 2 score and he's got number 3, but that's out of 3 people.
Uh,
So
but you got to put these scores up. If people don't put the scores up, then no one's going to chase them.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I'd like the you and I. Oh, well, you may not have met him, but you know of him, James Morris, and he's NAM
Hmm.
75 at the moment. He was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, dude, put it up there, and then people will chase you, and now you've got to fight. So, you
Oh,
know,
for sure, exactly. That's
y-
how it starts, and
yeah,
then someone might see that and go, "Oh, I like that game. I think I could do that."
yeah, I'll show him.
And
Yeah, and
yeah,
the legitimacy of Twin Galaxy over the last few years is, I don't want to get down about it, but it's changed. But at the end of the day, it's still a
yeah,
record of people's efforts, um, and so
yeah,
it's still worth following up, and it's still worth having a crack at, and still worth enjoying. And it's very hard to
yeah,
find that sort of stuff these days, unless you get specifically deep into a particular community. Like, you can go and do Tetris, but you've got to go into the Tetris world, whereas that gives you an all-over look at, oh, I could do Tony Hawk 2, or I could do, Bubble Bobble on the Game Boy and blah, 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 blah. So it's a really good window into what people are
Yeah.
enjoying. Yeah.
Very accessible. Yeah, it's nice. Have you ever got any old game that you really like and think, oh, I might be the best in the world at this? You actually might be, and you can like,
Yeah.
that's the best way to officially like see if you are the best.
Yeah, that's
It's pretty
right.
cool. Like you could
If no one challenges
a
you,
world
then
record.
you are the best. So
Yeah, exactly.
jam it.
And if there's only scores up there that are easy to beat, then you're the best
You are the
officially.
best. Yeah. So I would encourage people just to pull out the Game Boy and stick a card in it and film it and bloody
Yeah,
get your name up in lights for a couple of days till someone gets a sniff of it and
yeah.
triples your score. That sort of shit.
Well, actually, something I want to do on Tetris. I want to get a max out on Game Boy Tetris,
Oh
and
wow.
it actually, so speed 19 on Game Boy Tetris is like the fastest it gets.
Oh dude, that's
So if you can play at
bonkers.
that speed, yeah, then you can just like get up to nine like 6 nines basically 99,999.
Right.
And there's a couple of people I think that have done it. So
Man, that's epic. I think when I play, I just play from around 6 or 7 on the Game Boy. And I get to about 10 or 11, smoke starts coming off my head. And
yeah,
my
man.
daughter says I got Ninja Turtle fingers. So my Ninja Turtle fingers start like just doing exactly what they're not supposed to do. Oh, it's bonkers. I recently, last 2 or 3 months, got my wife into playing a bit of Tetris. And what we play is Tetris Party Deluxe on the Wii. So
Okay,
you play against each
nice,
other and you get junk and stuff. And it
awesome.
has been exceptionally rewarding to see her go from, we usually do like sets of 5, best out of 5. It's been exceptionally rewarding. But she's not a gamer. She's just whatever. It seems okay, I guess, if you want to do that with your time. To see her go from losing 4 out of 5 to a challenge now.
Yeah,
She's doing it. It's hard to watch it because I'm like, oh, put that piece there, put that piece there. But everybody has their way.
exactly. They do.
Yeah. Tetris, I'd like you to expand a bit more on Tetris because I think it's a very underrated experience for
Totally,
gamers. I
man.
think people should pick up a Tetris of any sort. What's with you in Tetris?
Oh man, it is an addiction,
It
uh,
is.
in a good way, I think. Like I kind of, it's my fail safe, I guess. If I'm like, I don't really know what I want to play, like
Mm-mm.
I can always play Tetris because it's just so satisfying. Like you can put on music,
Yep.
turn the game music off because it gets a bit annoying
It's a
after
bit
you've heard it
torturous.
like for 1,000 hours,
Yeah.
and just play Tetris and just hearing those lines and seeing them disappear. It's good for the soul, man, and
It is.
I just love it. And pushing myself like to PBs and learning more about like, oh, like what's a smart way to burn your lines so you're not sacrificing your stack. And
Mm,
because if you want to get high scores, you've got to play for actual Tetrises.
yeah. For 4 rows of 4 for those that aren't.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
And
it's a balance between playing aggressively, but
yes,
keeping those lines low and having that safety
yes,
and knowing your outs.
yeah,
I think that's the biggest
exactly.
learning curve for me is knowing where my outs are. What beats can I use to burn? And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no, no, just hang in there. The long bar's coming. I'm going to get 2 Tetrises in a row. It's like, nah, you're not. You got so
yeah.
greedy.
No, the game smells your greed and will
It,
not give you the long bar.
it does smell your greed.
Yeah,
Uh,
it knows, man. I swear, like when I'm not, it's probably just a in your head thing, but it seems like when you really need it, it doesn't want to give it to you until
yeah,
like the very last second where you have to be superhuman to actually get that piece over to where you
slide it
need it.
over. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
so you,
I feel like if you respect the game, it will respect you back. You
yeah,
don't push it too far; it'll give you the long
yeah.
piece when you need
Just
it.
accept those kicks in the nuts and earn your right to get a long bar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you're saying you're playing the CTP and you were like, I'm not really, wasn't ready to step into the Classic Tetris World Championship. Um, Is it pretty tough? Is it like
Oh man, it's wild. Like it used to be that getting a max out,
what's a max out?
in so in NTSC Tetris, you can't. Well, you can get a PAL max out, like in the like European like
Aussie.
Oceania region.
Yep.
So they're actually different speeds. Those games on the NES,
All right.
they play differently because of
Yep.
the 50 hertz versus 60 hertz thing
Yeah,
that used to
sure.
be.
The refresh rate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't get as high a score on PAL as you can on NTSC. And it used to be that if you max out on NTSC, which is getting the maximum score that the game actually shows, which is 999,999,
Right.
then you're basically like a beast at the game. But now there's so many good people that you have to get multiple max outs in qualifying to
Mm,
like qualify at a high
that's
place. And
insane. You are a Tetris master. It just told me.
yeah, yeah, it tells you it's
Doesn't
the
matter
game
what you
always says,
do.
ah, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what, you can
Yeah.
get 0 points. I think it tells you that.
Yes. Thanks for turning up.
Oh, no, yeah, I
And so
think you
with
have to
the
go over 30,000.
with the CTWC, like I've watched a bit of that, and they're getting 1.3, 1.2s. How is that? How's that working then?
So they use I think it's a Game Genie or at least some sort of modified cartridge.
Oh, like a ROM hack or
And
something.
yeah, and then it actually will show you your whole score. I think maybe they used to just maybe they had some sort of way of calculating it and showing it on the stream, but I
Mm,
think they actually use modified cartridge or a Game Genie
mm,
now because yeah, the game didn't show high enough scores for how good people have gotten, and it's crazy, man. The guy who qualified number one in the World Championships, Joseph Saley, he's like a two-time world champion.
mm.
He got, I think it was 10 or 12 max outs in his 2 hour qualifying thing,
Oh, holy.
just like back to back, just beasting it. And the next person down was like 6 max outs, I think.
Wow.
And yeah, I want to get a max out just once
Yeah.
on NTSC, and I think I'll do that eventually. I'm a hyper tapper, which is pretty crazy, like just pushing the buttons so fast that it's fast. Game can move the piece on its own.
Yeah. I tried a bit of hyper tapping. Like when I first got into it, and I was sort of hitting that sort of, I think I've kept a little bit of a log of my NES because the NES was the first console I bought like 6 months ago, and I got hold of a legit Tetris cart. And
Yes.
now I've got 7 consoles, but that's another story. But I went from that, just you're probably talking to you and watching the was it the Ecstasy of Order, which is that
Mm,
amazing documentary about the first Tetris World Championship. And it just, and I was like you, I was like, it's an addiction. It was the first time I'd had a game, and I would sit here on a Friday night and just put some music on my laptop, either Spotify, whatever, and just play till like 2 in the morning. And I'm not that sort of person. I'm 40, late 40s, and I'm in bed by 8:30, but I would just be fixated. And because you can ramp your level up, you could be like, because I
yeah.
personally, like I said, 10 or 11 is where I start. So I know the clock. So when I get to there, I'm sort of 9. I'm like, well, the score's not great. This is just a fun run, but it's still going to hurt. But you can dial it back and start at 3 or 4 or 0,
Yeah.
whatever. And you can just kind of have that really meditative experience where it's just, you're just putting the eggs in the garden. It's just, there's no, and
Yeah.
then eventually it ramps up when you're like, oh, okay, now shit's serious. Um, I can
Yeah. It's kind of
100%.
meditative.
It is, and I look at those guys that can do so. When you do the CTP, and then again this, do you guys start at 19 like the CTWC?
There's different rules depending on the tier. So I qualify in tier three,
That's just a
which
score
is like
thing,
the yeah. So depending on your score, I think it's every 16 people, it's a different tier.
right?
So if I qualify like after the 32nd person, then I go tier three, and you can start in on 12, 15, or 18
Right,
in that tier.
right.
And then in tier one and tier two, I'm not sure. Tier two might be just 15 and 18, but tier one is 18 only. And it's actually faster than level 18 on NTSC. because which is still pretty fast. But level 18 on NTSC is quite quick. It's kind of closer to level 19. Level 18 on PAL is kind of closer to level 19 on NTSC.
What's the faster version, PAL or NTSC?
PAL.
Right.
But the blocks actually move faster side to side as well. If you're using DAS, which is like holding down the direction instead of tapping, they move faster side to side. So that's really nice.
I always thought it was the other way around. I'm playing PAL. So yeah, right. I picked up a legit cart, Tetris cart in a box. You can see that there. It's a little bit of stuff at the bottom, but
got the box.
Yeah, got the box. It was actually in the little plastic thing and stuff. So did okay. That's from Russia with fun. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Enjoy this, bitches.
It's a very interesting story how like Tetris came about. There's a good documentary on YouTube by the gaming historian.
Yeah,
the history of the game and getting it out of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I was watching so Crossing the Beams here. I was sort of shooting eBay links around today at like Game Boys and stuff, and someone just linked me one to the Tetsuko, which is the Game Boy Pocket Clear with a whole bunch of Astro Boy characters in the front of it, and it's like it's $2.5 grand in box with documentation and stuff. And I linked him to a video of Steve Wozniak playing Tetris on one of those Game Boys, and it's just there's so much retro gaming awesomeness just packed into that 3 minutes, of That's Tetris. Cool. Yeah, that particular Game Boy. And again, that's what takes me back to time. And some people just reflect on their favorite sports heroes, and I always go back to we all had this. The beauty of retro gaming and like a Game Boy is that it's equal.
Yeah,
same Tetris. You, me, that guy in Singapore, that guy in the States.
Yeah, totally
equal.
Being the region-free thing, and every Game Boy works the same.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think how do you feel about your performance arc with Tetris?
I
you hit the limiter yet?
No, I've got some still room to play with. I want to get 500,000 on PAL.
Yeah.
My PB at the moment is 467, and I'm getting close to 100,000.
Yeah.
It's been so many runs now where I'm getting like such a good score up to the transition because I start level 9.
Yeah.
And then up until it starts to ramp up a little bit, and then I always just stuff it up, and it's so frustrating.
At what level does it really you feel that tick over? Like someone just put 50 kilo on your back?
Level 16 is when it starts to, because 16, 17, and 18, if I'm not mistaken, is like the same speed. So it doesn't actually always increase in speed,
right?
If the level increases, which is
that's kind.
Yeah, it just changes color, and it kind of makes you feel a bit more nervous because the level out. But once like level, I think level 10, it goes up a bit, 11 maybe a bit more. Then I think level 12 is a jump, level 15 is a jump. And then once it gets to 19 on PAL, it's like basically kill screen, except for a very few people who are now playing like hundreds of lines into the kill screen. And almost the world record for PAL is 800 and something thousand now, 840, I think. Yeah, if you Google Tetris PAL world record, you will be amazed. Like, check out that video because it's just so fast. You can't play really for Tetris's much. You're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And someone soon will get a max out, and that's just used to be seen as impossible, but not anymore.
Yeah. And you might ask the question, well, if you're not playing for Tetris, how are you scoring? But it's as the levels go up, the scoring is exponential. So if a single line's worth 100 points at 0, it's probably worth, a single line's probably worth like 10K at level 29 or whatever, So,
yeah, it is worth a decent amount at level 19, and they're just chipping away at it and trying to get up to that max out, and that'll be really cool.
I was recently playing here with someone at my place. We were playing the Type B game, which I think is probably underestimated or underrated. And you can just kind of, was it like 20, 40 lines or something like that. And you
I think
basically
it's
just
25.
20, yeah, and you bait 25. And you just basically, the goal is just to try and get like 6 Tetrises or 7 Tetrises.
Yeah.
And it really gets you kind of thinking. Also, you can create the junk so you can kind of try and dig your way out, because I think that is the most rewarding, especially when I'm playing against my wife on Tetris Party Deluxe, when she's got
Yeah.
me up the top and it's filling, and you're like, oh, I got to dig, and you dig, and then you push your shit back to her side, and you dig out. You're like, boom, yeah,
Yeah.
and then she'll do the same back to me. Like, it's really good to see someone just, just
Totally,
throw
man.
some back at. Yeah, it's unreal. Eh? Have you done the was it Tetris 99?
Yeah, on the Switch. Yeah, man, I played that a bunch. I like it. It's really cool.
How does that work? What's the deal there?
Well, so you know how you're sending when you're playing against your wife, sending junk to
Yep.
her.
Yep.
So Tetris 99, there's you and 98 other people
Oh.
around the world.
Oh, so
Or
it's online all
yeah, it's
with
a battle royale,
oh wow.
Tetris, and you can choose to send the junk to random people, people who are attacking you, people who is like are like almost dying and they're the easiest to kill.
Oh, finishers.
Yeah, basically, and you get like power ups, kind of like you steal people's badges, I think they're called, and then you have more power. So then, like when you burn something off, you send more junk.
How do you
And
control how to send it to who?
so you use the right thumbstick just to like there's four different options, kind of, and
Oh,
you just push it to which way you want. And I always like if someone's attacking me, I will go to attackers because I think it if you choose that when you're getting attacked, you send more junk to them, kind of to
right.
get them off your back, or at least
Deter them
maybe
from.
maybe you can kill them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. I guess anybody that's out there and hasn't, you know, that maybe is a very much a Switch player. If you're listening, that might be a good way to get a massive
yeah,
kick in the nuts, sort of thing, and
yeah.
get into some
It's free,
Tetris.
so
Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
and they have sometimes like retro themes that you can unlock. Like I've
Right.
got an original Donkey Kong theme,
Right.
uh, which is pretty cool. You just like they do it for like a few days, and you have to earn a certain amount of points in the competitions.
Can you only play online?
Which
Can
is
you just play normal Tetris single player?
in the free version, you can only play online, I think, and you can unlock the full version and then play offline. And like, I think it has multiplayer and everything. So
Mm,
I think it's a definitely a good investment.
mm,
Um,
mm.
I it's it's one of those Tetrises that has like the hard drop and everything, where you can just
Ah,
push
yeah.
up and it drops really
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Which for me, playing heaps of NES Tetris is not. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. I know.
Um,
It's got that on Tetris Party as well. And now I got my wife into play some NES stuff, and she's like, doesn't do the hard drop. There you go. I'm out of here. It's like,
yeah,
fair enough.
yeah, I think if you play Tetris Effect Connected or just Tetris Effect and there's like a new thing they added Connected, one of the best Tetris players in the world of classic Tetris actually works for that company that made Tetris Effect. And there's a classic version now, so you can basically play NES Tetris online. They made it as close as they can to the original
All
Tetris,
right.
and it's an online version as well. But it also has the hard drop and all the other modes of Tetris, and
Yeah.
it's an
It,
amazing experience. Tetris Effect, it's good.
oh, I think, is that the one that has VR as well?
Yes, it does, and it
Yeah.
has like just amazing music and graphics,
I was
and
going to get it, but I was like, I don't need like dolphins distracting me in the background from what's already super
yeah.
challenging.
Look, mate, I'm just trying to survive here. I don't
Yeah,
need
yeah.
freaking jumping around.
Yeah.
Yeah, get the Tetris, Scott.
Shut up, Flipper. um, I know that
Oh,
when I first started playing Tetris, like when I first started, I actually had one of those little NES mini classic things, the HDMI and
yeah,
everything. And my
nice.
history, my it's all right. My history has been a lot of emulation over the last 3 or 4 years. I've still got a Pi hooked up to the CRT through a HDMI to RCA converter. But when I started playing Tetris on that, and I really, that's how you say it in Australia.
Oh,
Um,
my.
yeah,
Oh,
I really felt that sort of delay of the emulation, and I was kind of like,
Yeah.
Oh, I this is probably the first time where I think I can actually blame the gear. So
Yeah.
that's when I picked up the NES and the car, and I was like, okay, this actually feels good. Now I've got no one to blame but my
Yeah. Yeah.
Ninja Turtle fingers. Um, and that snowballed into a bunch of other consoles, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So if anybody is out there and has sort of played a bit of like emulation NES with Tetris and stuff, I think do yourself a favor, at least pick up the Tetris cart for your Game Boy, whichever. I play a lot of the there's a Tetris DX. We played a bunch of that for the
Oh,
car
yeah.
because that's the first one that records your score. So my wife and I could, well, she wasn't cool about it, but because there's no dead drop. But then the one on the Game Boy,
Oh.
Tetris Advance, um,
Mm.
it's a really good version. It's like a little, it starts with like one trumpet dude in the corner, and every time you go through levels, it adds like a new dude to the band. So sort of
Yeah.
10 levels in, there's like this whole bunch of noise going on. There's a little trumpet dude in the corner and stuff. So,
Oh, cool.
but it's a really good version. It's got the, I actually noticed the other day, must have read it, but you can do like wall juggles. So you can kind of
Ah.
push, so the piece drops, say, top left, and you kind of push up and left and spin it, and it'll actually kind of just juggle against the wall for like
Oh.
three or four spins. So you're always fighting to kind of like get your spins done whilst it's
Yeah.
dropping. But in this you can go boink, 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 and then sort of drive it over. And I don't know what it does to its little brain, because it's like, oh, I've got another piece coming, all the sausages. But yeah, it holds up for you. So there's a little tip for
That's
those
cool.
playing Tetris Advance.
Nice
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, yeah. Tetris is good. It's good for the soul.
It is. I love it.
Yeah. So your collection, what do you, I suppose you can't really collect much while you're over there because you got to bring it all
No,
back.
I did add a Game Boy Pocket to the collection over here though.
Oh, nice.
I
It's my favorite
found
Game Boy.
it's a nice one with that clear acrylic kind
Mm.
of case that says Game
Oh
Boy on
yeah.
this.
Yeah, another
It's
one.
gorgeous.
Mm.
Found that on Facebook Marketplace over here, which is
Mm.
funny to do in Germany because I'm always using like a translator app. But if I'm
Yeah.
feeling lazy and I'm not that keen on whatever I'm trying to buy, I just use English and hope that they can speak English because most people do. Um, but yeah, I picked up the Game Boy Pocket and a bunch of Game Boy games and just sort of I've got the Pocket listed on eBay because I kind of need the money, but I've got it at a price that I'm happy. And if it doesn't sell, then I won't just keep it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do a bit of like buying, try to buy lots and keep what I want and sell what I don't.
Yeah. You're a big Vita
But
fan, are you?
yeah,
Or PSP fan?
PS Vita, I have.
Yeah. You love it,
Um,
eh? It's your, like almost your daily carry.
yeah, I guess you would say if that. I'm not playing a game on it at the moment, so my 3DS is more of a because I'm playing Ultimate Nintendo Remix,
Right.
Ultimate NES Remix on there, which
Yeah.
is an awesome game if you have a 3DS, or you can get it on Wii U. Um, really cool. But the Vita is awesome, man. If anyone has one, you can mod that thing and play awesome Game Boy games and old school, like any sort of old school game on there on a nice OLED screen
Mm.
and with retro arch, and it's just beautiful. And you can
Mm.
also make it there's a one of the hacks is that it's a PSP as well. You boot a PSP on your Vita basically, and it has the PSP boot up screen,
All
and
right.
then you get into it and you can put your PS1 classics on there and
Oh,
play
okay.
PS1 games
So
on the
it's kind of
go.
like
And
dual boots or something.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I think
right.
it's called Adrenaline. And so I managed to. I like hacking stuff if it's not too crazy, and
It's all soft
the
modding.
Vita's. Yeah, I think so.
Like
Yeah, nothing
you
like
don't have to open it
it's
up
all
and
software based.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting looking at looking through social media at the Game Boys and stuff, and you start wandering out into, so what's next as the goalpost shift through what's going to blow up, and you
oh,
start to see
totally.
the Vita and the PSP become a thing. Hey, and you walk through like
Yeah,
cash converters here, and you're like, yeah, I should probably grab a couple and just put them in the cupboard. You just never know.
Yeah, man. If you find a good deal on a Vita and you want something that can be like a kind of an all-in-one retro handheld plus be able to play like awesome modern games like Rayman Legends and Origins games are just an awesome
Mm,
game on the Vita. If
mm,
you can get one at a good price, I would definitely recommend it.
yeah, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Seeing how the world's gone a bit bonkers. You said you have a PS4.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've.
so PS4 Pro I have here. Love it.
What
It's
do you
awesome.
what do you do with that?
Um, play video games mostly.
Yeah, that's handy. If I tried
Yeah.
tried Toast and didn't come out great. Mm.
Yeah, that didn't work.
So being a big retro gamer, what does a PS4? Where does that fit in your life?
Well, I do love modern games as well. Like Last of Us 2, I played on there. I've got a bunch of like backlog games on the PS4.
Yeah,
Like a bit of like online Rocket League is fun on the PS4.
yeah, yeah,
They do have some like really nice sort of retro themed games.
yeah.
But you can get kind of indie games. A lot of indie stuff does come out physically on the PS4, but you can also just download it. Kind of old school like pixelated platformers and that
Yep,
kind of thing, like
yep, yep.
kind of Hollow Knight, that sort of thing.
Mm,
More like retro styled games, but some of them are just basic 2D platformers, but they have just amazing like graphics and backgrounds, and it's just beautiful.
and music and just the way it interacts and little animations and stuff are great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
This is not at all related to that style of game, but I'm currently playing Little Nightmares, which is there's a sequel out now.
Yeah, I
It's
saw that.
I bought it for my 9-year-old daughter because I was listening to some people talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, my 11-year-old." I think my 9-year-old's pretty mature. We've probably exposed her to some TV that's probably a little too old for her, but she doesn't watch Stranger Things as much as she'd love to. But this Little Nightmares,
Yeah.
it's sort of this 2.5D platformer, I guess, where you're sort of going left to right, but you can move in and out. There's depth, and
Oh, cool.
there's nothing on the screen. It's you're just kind of watching, and you just this little kind of there's no gender, but you'd like this little short, obviously a child in a yellow raincoat down in the depths of what are metal walls and dripping water, and you just kind of wake up and all you've got is like a cigarette lighter, and it's just
Oh,
really, and it's really good. There's just these moments where you've got to kind of look around the room and drag a chair over, and you've got to climb up this chain and push a lever and run and jump, and it's you really feel for this little. For me, it's a dude. I'm identifying it's this little boy. I think I'm
how
on a
dare
ship.
you?
Yeah, I know. I think I'm on a ship or I'm in a factory or something. It's just, I would highly encourage anybody that's sort of looking for something to, and you can, there's heaps of really regular save points. I love save points. Sorry, my only challenge with actual legit early like DMG games is everything's played. You're playing that one game to the death. There's no, it's hardly any save points, and it's like, oh, I feel like I'm wasting my time because I'm crap and I can't save, sort of thing.
Yeah, save points is a nice option to have.
It
Like
is.
if
It
you
is.
really want to just get through a game and not restart it 100 times.
Yeah, yeah. I know Mike at the moment's working through Contra on the Game Boy, and I'm sort of having a go at it myself. And it's like, oh, it's just so brutal.
Brutal.
Like, yeah, I,
Yeah.
I'm terrible at those running guns, but I played Contra Hardcore on the Mega Drive, and I was like, I'm actually not 100% terrible at this. This is kind of fun. And it looks gorgeous through a Sony Trinitron, which this guy gave to
Ah,
me. He moved to Germany. You might know him, actually. Yeah.
what an idiot. Who would
No,
move to Germany
a
during this time?
give away a TV, a perfectly good TV.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, that thing's probably like, I don't know, especially during Corona and the fact that CRTs are just harder and harder to come by. And hold on to that, eh? It's
Oh,
a beautiful.
100%. It's the reason why I am where I am. I totally blame you because once I got the Pi, because with the Pi, I was doing all the like shaders and filters to give the CRT effect on LCD. Um,
Yeah.
but once I put the Pi through the HDMI to component composite converter, let's just say RCA, you took away the shaders and filters, so you didn't put as much load on the Pi. So there was a noticeable reduction in lag, in my opinion. But you're just doing it on a CRT, and that was like, okay, I need this to be more of a thing in my life. So, yeah, if you can get stuff through
Yeah.
CRTs, it's definitely the business. Hey, You're right; they're getting harder and harder
Yeah,
to find.
it's nice, man. I love them. I just love looking at CRTs, man. Do they just look so cool? Old
Yeah,
TV, they look awesome.
yeah. I had to build an entire sort of structure. I think this thing's beastie. I've dragged it in the hallway a couple of times when my wife's away, and it's like you pick it up and you're like, oh, shit, I'm not sure I can actually walk with this. Just plonk it back down.
Yeah, yeah. It's a two-person job if you want to set your back. That's
Yeah,
for
it's a
sure.
29-inch, I think, or a 20. Yeah, I think it's a 29. It's a big sucker.
Yep. Yeah, it was a big one for sure.
Yeah, it was worth all 6 Henrys that I swapped it for.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All righty. Have you got any other sort of like we might just sort of talk about the podcast again. You were talking about some stuff that Neil was coming up with, and you got any more plans for the podcast? I'd like to give you an opportunity to really sort of plug that a bit more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're basically just going to keep it coming. We do have a few ideas. One with like sort of the Game Changers series is kind of what we're calling it. I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to talk about here. This is very top secret stuff, but
Okay.
not
Well, it's
really.
just you and me, mate. It's fine.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some cool stuff coming, like the Gallagher series, and then it would be nice to do a bit of like a Donkey Kong and talk to some of like the people who have pushed Donkey Kong's limits further and further. Like Matthew Tecchio would be one of them from
Yep.
Melbourne.
Yep.
He's, I think, number 7 in the world. Which Donkey Kong is the most competitive, like classic arcade game at the moment, and it has been for a while, I think. So,
well, it made
but,
Nintendo, famous, so we've got to be thankful for that.
oh yeah, for sure, man, crazy times. There's definitely we don't really we have a bunch of ideas that we've kind of got written down that we want to focus on in different episodes, and we're answering people's questions. And
Yeah.
so if anyone does listen to the podcast and you want to ask us a question, you can do so via either Facebook, just Play It Up Podcast on Facebook, or email playituppodcast@gmail.com. Check us out. Check us out on Anchor. You can actually leave a voice message, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And we do that on the podcast if you want to do that.
Yeah, I haven't encouraged anybody to do that yet because I don't know if I could deal with the "you suck, man, shut the hell up" kind of shit.
Yeah. You think you know Game Boys?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that sounds cool. I'll get some so in the show notes I'll put some details about the podcast and you and Mike and Neil, and people can follow them on Instagram. And I think Neil's pretty quiet. Neil's too busy bloody playing Ghosts and Goblins when he's not with his 2 kids, sort of thing. So
yeah, Mike's pretty big on the Instagram stuff, and
yeah,
he does some good content on there. And yeah,
and Mike's got a great collection.
Yeah, he does. He's got quite the games room.
Yep.
You can see it on the YouTube. You can see part of it on the YouTube videos of our podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, he always has the nicest backdrop on those videos.
He does. He has quite a lot of awesomeness right behind him there.
He does.
Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, I'll put those details in. Is there any? I usually give my guests an opportunity to sort of plug, whether it be a friend or an organization or like a business that you like to see support. Have you got anybody else out there you'd like to put in the show notes and people can go and check them out?
Yeah, sure. So I know most of the other guests are doing like a lot of Instagram shout outs, but I'm not huge on the Instagram. I have been a bit more lately because I've been listening to your podcast and checking out the Instagrammers on there.
My job's done here.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like Natalie the Nerd and Peg City 8-Bit and the other guys. It's been really cool.
Yeah.
But I'd like to shout out definitely to my co-hosts, Mike and Neil. Thanks for always making the podcast very fun to record and being good mates. And definitely shout out to all the awesome people who are part of the retro gaming community in Brisbane and in Australia, and I guess the world in general. But the one I'm familiar with is the one in Australia and focused on Brisbane. Netherworld, you're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. On Up Arcade in Morningside, freaking amazing. So many original cabs and awesome games there.
There's 200 plus cabs and pennies there, I think.
Yeah, and the onus Steven is just such a good guy.
Yeah, and it's the same attitude as Netherworld in that it's all legit. You know, like he just recently they relocated, and they had those you know, all sorts of cabs, and I think he went and put like all the low boys together. Like that's just gorgeous. You know, like last time I was there, they're in the old location, which was actually one floor down, and there was like, I don't know, from memory, like 10 Neo Geos just lined up. And you're just like,
oh man,
oh dude, like I don't even want to play them. I'm just gonna walk back and forth and just enjoy the noise and the light. Yeah.
It's so cool, man. That dude has a hell of a collection.
Yeah.
We are blessed in Brisbane. We got Netherworld, One Up, and then also, shout out to Pincadia.
Yep.
I believe they are open again now, and that's in Wollongabba.
Yep.
As another barcade, great place.
Yep. Spacey's up the hill, Jerry.
Yeah, Spacey's in Toowoomba. Shout out to Spacey's. That's actually, they're going to be our kind of first sponsor for the Play It Up podcast. So,
congrats.
Yeah, cheers, mate. It feels more legit when you say you have a sponsor. Hey,
it does a little bit. I was afraid to, because I'm like, I'm so going to let them down, but whatever. It's
no, you're doing a good job, man. It's good. Laid back Aussie promotion.
Spacey's is a for those that are in Australia that might be listening, up Toowoomba, which is only like an hour and a half drive from here, and Toowoomba's one of those places where it's like, I guess I could go to Toowoomba, kind of thing. But you know, if you need a nudge and you're into retro gaming, I think Spacey's could be that. That'll get us up there, you know, over winter or something for a fireside Airbnb and hit Spacey's.
Yeah, totally. It's a great place run by John McNeil, and also a lot of help from Jerry Scott. They're just great blokes, huge passion. They're gamers, and they love it, and they do a good job. And I can't wait to get back to Australia and go to all these amazing places again. And also a couple of game stores to shout out. Eddie's Retro at Greenslopes.
Yep.
He's always been really good to me. He has really fair prices, especially for a retail store. Like, I don't know, with the blow up in Game Boys and stuff recently, but he was selling like pockets and DMGs for like, I don't know, $50 to $70. And that's for a retail store at these days. That's super
that has rent, you know, to pay and things like that. It's not just someone on Facebook. That's right. And he has a lot. You can go in there. It's easily the most, I'm sort of new, but it's easily the most retro gaming product for sale I've ever seen in one place. It's shelves and shelves and cabinets of carts. Like I've never seen so many. You must have one of every Game Boy cart that exists there. You know, it's laid out. It's bonkers. I was in there just a few weeks ago, and while I was there, a guy bought a Dreamcast and all the Dreamcast games he had, and a Saturn and all the Saturn games he had. And I was pretty sure that if you stood around much longer, he'd be like, everybody out, I'm shutting the doors and going to the pub, because that would have been quite the sale. It's quite jealous.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Saturn games and Dreamcast games aren't cheap either. No. I don't think.
Yeah, someone just won something on the ponies, I'd say, or something.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie's,
why not?
You had was there another store you were going to plug there? Sorry, before I cut you off.
Yeah, Super Retro. I've always liked going there as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's one at the Garden City and one at Robina Town Shopping Centre, I think it's called.
Yep, I was at the Robina one about 3 weeks ago. It's nice and just, the Greenslopes one, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I haven't been to the Garden City one yet. That opened after I left.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll check that out when I get back, but I'm sure it's good. Nice guys there. And I guess definitely want to shout out to the Game the System podcast, which is another Aussie gaming podcast.
Yep.
Really good one from fellas in Sydney.
Yep.
And the Arcade Perfect podcast. And they've recently wrapped up and finished podcasting, but they've got plenty of episodes up. They focus on one arcade game per episode and all of the different ports that ever came out, and they kind of rate them and tell you which ones are good and which ones are turds. And
Yeah,
It's really cool, and they're really funny and
yeah,
good to listen to. So
good
same
guess.
for the
That
game as well. It's really entertaining.
Yeah, the Arcade Perfect, as you said, Daz and Tags have just recently wrapped up after 30 years. 30 years, 3 years. It probably feels like 30 years
Whoa.
to them. Yeah. And they yeah, it always astounded me listening to them that like you might get some game that was sort of like Super Nintendo probably might be drawing it a bit long a bow, but you'd be like, what? There was a version of that on the ZX Spectrum? Like you can
Yeah.
really see there's a bit of a time warp when games started becoming and when they kind of that next gen console being like the PS1 and GameCube. And it
Yeah, for
just
sure.
blows me away that a game, it's like 12 versions on every single thing, that like a calculator almost. They did a great job, and they're all there. You just listen to that last episode and you'll find out where to find them.
Yep, for
Yep,
sure.
yep, yep.
I think that does it for my shout outs.
No
If
problems.
I've forgotten anyone, I'm deeply sorry.
Love you all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, I'm going to wrap this up now. I appreciate that. It was just after 8 a.m. in Stuttgart when we kicked this conversation off.
Yes.
About 5 p.m. my time. So I'm going to go have some dinner, and you're going to go about your day. Hey, it's Saturday. Enjoy, my friend.
Yeah,
You.
well, I've got to
Yeah.
go do a German language course lesson, but
Oh, really?
it's quite enjoyable. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You can hopefully you'll be able to sort of haggle a bit more on those Game Boy sales and things on Facebook.
Yeah, see how we go. I'll keep
Yeah,
an
yeah,
eye out.
yeah.
It's
That's it.
harder and harder to get good finds.
It is very hard. It is getting more and more challenging. And you pick them up and you're like, oh, do I just keep it? It's a bit beat. 6 months ago, I would have
Yeah.
reshelled this, but now it's like, yeah, it's actually a pretty good Game Boy compared to what's going around for the similar price. Yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky. I got one Game Boy SP for 13 euros, including shipping. So that's like $20.
Well,
So I
that's
was pretty
good.
stoked for that.
That's
Yeah.
very good. All right, bud. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. For those that
Cool.
have stayed and listened, I hope you've enjoyed the conversation. And it's always about just, we have a lot in common with retro gaming, but often you have more in common with someone than you think. And these kinds of conversations, it's about keeping that community thinking. It's a little bit outside, looking after each other, and just sort of waving the flag for those people that have helped you get through the last 12. I don't like to dwell on it, but the last 12 to 18 months for some people has been pretty tough. For you, Shaun, you would have seen that going into Germany and sort of going, oh, wow, we've had it
Yeah.
really lucky in Australia. And little conversations like this can remind someone that, friends are really, really important.
Totally.
Yeah. And so I'm going to definitely wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you have some way of giving the podcast a review, do it. Tell me it's poop or whatever. I don't care. Someone will maybe see that and listen, and they'll realize that retro gaming is more than just gaming. It's about good communities. And Shaun, mate, enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your weekend. You and I will be in touch regardless at some point.
Absolutely. Dankeschön, mein Freund. Tschüss.
Yeah. That's about all I got, dude. All
Sehr
right,
gut.
mate. Yeah. Das ist eine Sausage or something. Weiner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. All right, mate.
Okay.
You take it easy,
See you,
eh?
mate.
See you
You
soon.
too.